Sarah Palin told Greta Van Susteren last night that she's been praying about 2012, and I have been praying that Sarah Palin gets back here as quickly as possible.
That was Maureen Dowd on MSNBC this afternoon. Sarah Palin, who barely made herself available for interviews during the start of the campaign, is certainly making up for it now. She's making the rounds with newspapers, cable networks, and sitting down with NBC's own Matt Lauer. And joining us now to dissect some of her answers in those interviews and look forward to the future of the GOP are Michelle Bernard, president of the Independent Women's Forum and an MSNBC political analyst, Susan Molinari, Republican strategist and former New York Congresswoman, and Joan Walsh, editor-in-chief of Salon.com. To get this started, here is Sarah Palin talking to Matt Lauer on the victory margin. Watch.
I thought that it would be closer, but then taking a step back and being able to consider why it was that the margin was as great as it was, it makes sense. We didn't get the Hispanic vote, and that was very significant. And when you consider that we were outspent so tremendously, it makes sense there also that perhaps the margin was going to be larger than we anticipated. And then just that anti-incumbency sentiment, really, that was spread across the land, and our ticket representing the incumbency. It's really not so much a surprise after all that the margin was as great as it was.
Michelle Bernard, I was surprised that she didn't talk about the fact that Democrats simply ran a strong campaign and that maybe Barack Obama had something to do with that.
Yeah, it's a very interesting response. She really sort of just brought on all of the blame onto the Republican Party. Many people would argue that is where where the blame lies, but obviously the Obama camp ran a fantastic campaign. But really, what's even more interesting, David, is that we're hearing so much from Sarah Palin and absolutely nothing from John McCain since his concession speech, which was very modest and a great speech, and in the way he handled things and turned things over to President-elect Obama. Sarah Palin has been everywhere, and it leads one to ask what's going on with John McCain, and also why are we not hearing from John McCain in terms of standing up for Sarah Palin as she seems to be being attacked so ruthlessly from people within the campaign.
Susan Molinari, what is Sarah Palin up to with this trip she's making to the Republican Governors Conference? Unlike just about every other participant, she's delivering high-profile remarks. She's having a very big news conference, a very different sort of image that she's trying to carve out than others. What's she up to?
Well, I think she's trying to keep her options open. Look, here's a woman who excited the Republican Party, captured the interest and attention of the American public and certainly the American media. She has now, since the end of the election, has been the target of some vicious backbiting and rumor mongering among those who do not want to disclose their name. And she's standing up for herself, and she's testing the waters. And I think before the curtain sort of settles on this election in terms of, the next administration coming in and moving forward, she's trying to just make sure she...
David, also, if I could just add to that, if you really think about it, I mean, if you go back starting with the Republican convention, Sarah Palin really energized the base. Now, the Republican Party is disunited right now. There are many factions. But I think that what Sarah Palin is saying is that she's not going to take the blame for John McCain losing the election. She electrified the base being what it is. All those people that we saw coming out in droves to see John McCain were really coming out to see Sarah Palin. And I think that she realized that she's got a very short window of opportunity to decide whether or not she's going to remain the governor of Alaska, whether or not she might end up in a Senate seat, and that opening that she's been praying to God for might appear in 08 or early 09, depending on what happens with Ted Stevens in Alaska, or she might, think about higher office in 2012. But I think she realizes that the time is right now, and she has to rehabilitate her image if she wants any future in national politics. 4 years is a long time to study up on the issues. People might be stunned by what she shows up with 4 years from now.
Well, and clearly the Republican Party's got to be thinking about their future and whether the future is found by appealing again to the base or by trying to move to the center, but there'll be plenty more discussions on that. In any case, Michelle Bernard, Susan Molinari, and Joan Walsh, thank you all very much for coming in. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You can see more of Sarah Palin's interview on the Today Show tomorrow. You can also see Senator John McCain's first interview since the election on The Tonight Show. That's tonight only on your NBC station. Still to come, in addition to a struggling economy, President-elect Barack Obama will be faced with the question, what to do about Guantanamo Bay. Some insight next on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.